So first of all is we have these, let me just go back here. We have these base training PowerPoint files. Most of the times I just follow these PowerPoint files, but I don't like much to go through each slide and explain everything what is in the slide and do all these and reading all the paragraphs on these PowerPoint slides. What I would like to do, actually, is to talk about the system, talk about the features, show you where they are, and explain to you what is in here, what was intended to be. Like, for example, this is like the first introduction and overview PowerPoint. It basically talks about the partners, the customer base installed, and where we are present in the whole world, and what is retail and everything. And I don't like to spend much time on them on these slides, but we are going to use this as a basis. We're not going to go through the whole PowerPoint and talk about every single slide.
All right, no problem.
Okay.
And to let you know that when we were in Atlanta, we got the 11.05 virtual.
Yeah.
Yes.
Excellent, excellent. Actually, I am planning to use that one.
Right.
As you can see here, I have this environment. Well, this virtual machine running on the background. Well,
right.
On my VirtualBox application. The main reason why I'm using Oracle VirtualBox is because I am more comfortable than using Hyper-V. It is not like I cannot use Hyper-V, but the thing is that I am pretty much comfortable with this software with Oracle, right? So basically, I have this virtual machine, and it is good that you have this virtual machine already. And I think that you already addressed some of the features that are on LS Retail. So it's going to be a little bit easier for us to go through all the features that we are going to cover on this training. So let me just start with these PowerPoint slides. So the first slide is what is retail. So basically, it is a high-level definition of retail. So it is a business activities involved in selling goods and services to consumers for their personal, family, or household use. And this is the last stage in the distribution process. So we basically are focused on the customer end. We are trying to have a tool, or we have a tool to perform all these processes that need to happen with the customer. Is to have this cash machine, cash drawers, and we're focused on the POS, sales, and all these, all the process that should happen on a POS, on a point of sale terminal. So basically, the retail outlet, it is like a store that can sell smaller quantities of products or services to the general public. So basically, the solution is focused on selling goods. So we are not like doing magic or doing some weird stuff. So we are going to focus on sell items to the customers. One of the first principles of retail, then it's something that some of the customers do not agree or are not very confident or very comfortable with, is that you can sell the product even when you don't have inventory of that item. It is not like in NIV. In NIV, when you place a sales order, this sales order, when you add the item to that sales order, and you add a line on that sales order, and you specify the quantity for that item, it runs or it triggers a lookup for the inventory, to check if you have enough inventory, enough stock for that item to be sold. So in LS Retail, when you are selling an item at the POS, that kind of feature or that kind of situation does not happen. So if you have zero inventory for that item, you can sell the item, because the LS Retail product understands that if you have it physically, you can sell it, and the customer is going to ask you to sell that item to him, right? So you can have negative quantities. This is one of the things that some of the customers are not agree with, are like, okay, well, but how can you sell something if you don't have it in the inventory? But in some other softwares, in some other retail software, you cannot sell the item until you add that item into the inventory. So what I saw in some of other projects is that they were having several issues, because if they forgot to add or to post a purchase order or to post an inventory journal or do something like that, they were not able to sell the item, and they were having several issues at the POS. So in LS Retail, you don't have that kind of issue, you know. On the other hand, you can have negative quantities if you are not managing your inventory correctly. But other than that, it should work, and it should cover all the features that you need on the POS. So these are basically some of the types of the retail. So department stores, discount stores, supermarkets, specialty stores, restaurants. We have LS Hospitality, or we have hospitality features that can allow you to manage kitchen display systems, printers, and you can have like recipes, and you can manage like the production of those recipes. You can have a meal planning window where you can just schedule or plan your foods or your meals for the day, and you can have like inventory for those to be displayed at the POS on the POS buttons, so you can check the quantities on the POS, so you cannot sell more than those items that you already prepared. But well, that is basically hospitality. On saloons, on cinemas, or arenas, museums, we have like several different retail outlets or types of retail. And basically the global customers, we are over 3,600 companies with over 55,000 stores operating 130,000 POS terminals in 120 countries. So this is basically where we are present in the whole world. And the other one is their partners. Our partners are present on all these 20 localization partners. The localization partners are basically, or are key partners when it's something related to taxes or fiscal implications. Like for example, in Dominican Republic, you need to have like fiscal printers, or in Mexico we have the electronic invoice or something like that. So we have like key partners that are in charge of that, or those customizations for LS Retail. So we are not like rediscovering the wheel. So we are working together with some key partners that really understand and know well the functionality and everything that is needed legally and, and fiscally talking. You know, we are just like not messing around with that, because we know they know better what is needed, right? So that is, well, this is like this. Some of our customers, like the main customers, or one of our great customers that we have been having, we have had a huge relationship with. So we have been like working with them for several years. So these are part of our key partner or key customers, sorry. So after that, we have like these hospitality customers, like we have KFC in Iceland, we have Subway, Starbucks in the Philippines. Some of these partners also, we have like, for example, hospitality restaurants here in Mexico. We have Carl Jr. We have one of these customers that are key customers that are like good with the solution, have been working with the solution for a couple of years. And then some of our retail and hospitality customers, these are customers that have both solutions in them, in their companies. So we have like retail and hospitality solution for both of them. So we have like retail stores and we have restaurants as well. So all these partners are the partners that have both solutions working together on the same company. So the solution is developed within Microsoft Dynamics NAV, and we basically state that it's a powerful and flexible solution because it is integrated with NIV. So it is not like an add-on or something that needs integration or needs some development tasks to synchronize the data between the ERP and the POS solutions, like many of the other solutions that are in the market. So it is, compared with other solutions, we have the same solution for everything. Same solution, same platform. We have the PO, you can go from the purchase order to the sales of the items on the POS. You know, it is an end-to-end solution, and we have like different ways to configure the solution, and you have like different architecture options for the solution. So you can have standalone stores, you can have like an online store working together at the head office or connecting directly to the head office. So it depends on what the customer's needs are, and it depends on what are the consultants, depending on the analysis that is done at the customer side, what is the best option for the customer to use, or what is the best option to the deployment of this or of the project. So the NIV solution, as you know, maybe as in NIV, sorry, it is built on NIV. It is fully integrated with NIV, so everything works together. You don't have to do any integration parts or any integration with the sales to be posted into the inventory or something like that. We have all those features already there. So you can see here is an all-in-one solution. It is a basic diagram of all the, well, not all, but many of the processes that can be performed with the solution. Like you can do like sales history, you can have a sales history, you can manage all your master data in the back office, you can have like price management, that it's a little bit, slightly different of what we have in NIV, but we are going to address that later. And you can have like these stock counting processes. We have a solution that we can, that we call the store inventory worksheets. And the store inventory worksheets are based or are mainly focused on the usage of mobile devices. Like for example, if you are going to have like handhelds on your warehouse, you can just perform some inventory tasks within the POS device, and you can send that information right away to the NIV database. So you can, somebody at the warehouse can just check the information that you are sending to those to the database, and then post that information if they agree or they disagree with the information that you are passing through the mobile app to the database. Sorry. And then we have like this POS part, POS statement, cash management. The statement is basically what we are going to use to post the sales into the inventory and the financial part. We are going to create the GL entries and the inventory of sales entries that we are going to process, and we're going to post into the inventory based on the sales that we have, that we performed at the POS. So we have cash management, so we can have like also cash management activities, like put some money into the drawer at the beginning of the day, and then take out that money from the drawer at the end of the day, and have this management of bags, or if we are sending this to a bank account, or we are sending this to a different, I don't remember the name of it, to a safe in the store. So you can have a safe on your stores, and you can have like, for example, this amount of money is going to be deposited to the bank, and this other amount is going to be kept on the safe, and that is going to be then sent to the bank later, or some other kind of processes that implies like some cash movements or some cash processes. Staff management, we have like these clock in, clock out features, but I'm not going to go too deep on that. And then on the shelf price and shelf label order, we have the ability to print labels from the system, and we use Zebra printers, and basically we have like some predefined reports. Not almost in all projects, every customer asks for their own layout for labels. So, well, this is like a basic format that you can just define, or you can just modify it or customize for your customers. Then we have like this picking receiving. We use some documents, something that we call retail picking, that allows you to do transfers, to post sales orders, or to do something to take out some inventory from your database, and receiving to receive purchase orders, to process transfers, and all the inventory processes that are needed at the database, at the back office. And then we have like these features to stock request, to request for transfer for an item. So we can just place an order or place a transfer order to be fulfilled by a different store, because you are in need for a specific item, for a specific quantity, or a specific variant of an item based on what you have. And you have like the inventory lookup. We have different reports that allow you to check the inventory on your locations, and you can have everything there in one single place. And go ahead.
What slide are you on?
Sorry?
What slide are you on? Slide number. Because I'm stuck on 11. I don't know if everybody else is stuck on 11.
I am 11. I am talking about this. Yes, I am on this slide. It is purchase ordering. I am talking about all these features that are displayed in here, and I am on at the bottom that it says stock request and transfers. So I am just giving you a high-level description of those. So in the left side, we have like the handheld terminals, service, and replenishment. So we have a model, and a huge model regarding replenishment. So we have different replenishment types, like for like. That means that as long as you sold an item, once you sell an item, you're going to ask for another one to a vendor, or place a purchase order to fulfill the inventory need. But basically, I am on this, on 11. Then 12, the POS, point of sale, basically handles the sales to the customers, as I said in the past. And then retail point of sale system typically includes a computer. And these are like the hardware that we need, like the hardware components, the cash drawer, receipt printer, customer display, barcode scanner. Some other hardware might be like the magnetic stripe readers that you can set up also in the system. But basically is the location where the sale is conducted, the money changes hands, and a receipt is given. So basically we're giving a good to a customer, and we're receiving money for that in different ways. It can be paid by a credit card, cash, with a different currency, or something else. So we have also points, or we have loyalty features that allow you to pay with points, or that can give us some benefits, or can give the customer some benefits. And basically the application has a graphic user interface. And as you might see here at the bottom, we have different displays. And these displays are basically different menus, different profiles. And what they do is just to display the system in a different way, or they display the POS in a different way, different layout, different colors. And maybe if the user is left-handed, we can have the menu on the left side of the screen. Or if the user is like maybe has some issues to see something, we can have different colors to make easier for him to check or to perform his job. So basically, we have profiles in the POS that allow us to modify the view or the graphical user interface. So we can control how the system or how the POS is going to be displayed, right? So we also have the ability to use keyboard or to use touchscreen equipment. So the buttons can be like, for example, in a way that allow the user to touch in them. Or maybe we're using the touch screens and we're using keyboard, so we can set up like fixed keys, or we can use like quick access keys. So we can have like, for example, F1 is going to process total, or maybe to look up for an item, F2, or control F1 to do something, you know, like all these shortcuts or key shortcuts to process something or to do something on the system. So we also have like these optional features to manage multiple languages on the buttons, or controlled by staff, and multiple interface layouts that are user definable. and this any screen size. We are not defining the size of the screen, so we are not have to worried about that because it is predefined. So it's going to be adjusted to the screen size. And the graphics support on buttons on items, so we can have we have the ability to add some pictures on the buttons, or maybe instead of having a description of the item, we can add an image for that button. So if we're going to sell apples, you click on that button that has an apple on it. So it is not like, well, it is something. It depends on what you want to achieve. And then the back office, we understand back office where all the tasks are dedicated to run the company. So basically, all the item management, the price management, all the posting of POS sales, and the replenishment, the inventory management, all financial management, everything it is done at the back office. It is the POS is going to only help us to process sales. So we are not going to perform any inventory activity on the POS databases. And then this is a use case that is the use case that we always use to train the users. So basically, this is a description of what is needed from one of our customers. The customer is called Sport Brothers Inc. And they are going to open 2 sports stores in Liverpool and Manchester. Basically, it is asking us to add 2 different stores because you can have like transfer orders, or you can just be asked to perform something to transfer information or transfer an item from Liverpool to Manchester, or to have a different tax setup, or I don't remember exactly what is the main intention of having two stores, but basically it is like to ask the user to set up 2 stores. And then the project says that the project has already started. This is a key point, because it says that all setup in the standard Dynamics NIV has been done and objects are in place. That means that because the project has already started, that implies that NIV is already installed in the customer. So they have the financial, the GL account set up, they have all the Dynamics NIV part in place. So regarding the objects, this is because in the LS Retail installer, if you have it, on the LS Retail installer, it comes with a backup of the database, of the LSNIV database. And we also have, we also have the objects. We have TXT and FOB files to import or to merge the objects into a database. So if there is an NIV database version 2018, we can add these objects or merge these objects into the database to make it LS Retail usable, right? So this parts from the fact that you already have NIV installed and you have all the LS Retail objects in your database. So our work is just to implement and set up LSNIV according to the customer requirements. And this is because we already have NIV, so we are going to only set up and implement the LSNIV. So we are not going to care about the fact that we need to set up all NIV features like the financial, purchase, posting, setup, and all these kind of features that are needed. So this is an agenda that I have like for 2 days. Basically, it's like a 2 days training session, but I haven't changed these. Like, for example, this is the first topics that we're going to cover, like the retail setup, what is needed to set up or to configure retail, like the store setup, POS setup, the staff setup, the item setup, how you can manage or you can configure the items for depending on what are your needs or your customer needs, and the price management. We have like promotions, periodic discounts, multi-buy discounts. We have different options to manage prices in the system. The variant setup is how we can set up an item with variants. We can have like up to 6 dimensions for the item, and what we call dimensions they are different of dimensions in NIV or the dimensions that we already know for NIV. Dimensions and variants, or the variant dimensions, are intended to be like the color, sizes, styles, or something else that identifies the product as a different product. You know, like for example, for a shoe, we can handle like the color and the sizes. But if we also want, we can have a third dimension that is going to be the style. So basically the variant dimensions is like the characteristics of the product or something like that. Oh, sorry. And then the retail info codes. Info codes, we basically use info codes to add items, additional items, to add additional information into a sale, to specify reasons for a return. Like for example, if we are going to return an item, to keep or to save a reason code for that return. So we can, after that, we can run a report at the back office that is going to allow us to check what are the main reasons the customer is returning our items because of a fabric defect or something else, you know. And basically, it's like to keep some extra information regarding something that is happening at the POS. We also have info codes, like for hospitality, we have info codes to modify the items that are going to be sold. Like for example, when you are going to a quick service restaurant, they ask you if you want to have like a big soda for 50 cents more or something like that. All these kind of features are controlled by the info codes. And we also have info codes to skip tax calculations. So if, for example, somebody comes into the store and we want to apply a different tax area, tax setup, or something like that, we use info codes to modify that specific transaction or to manage exceptions at the POS. So basically, retail info codes have different and many options to set up and have like different functionality on them. And then again, POS setup, because the POS setup is like handled or is controlled by many profiles, as you will see. Well, not many, actually, there are 5 profiles in the POS, but we are going to cover all those and how they are defined at the POS, or at the POS, how they are picked or how they are selected based on the configuration you have. And the POS key commands and the fixed keys. The POS key commands are like the commands that I was telling you, like if F1 is going to process total in the transaction, or F2 is going to open the item lookup, or maybe F3 is going to change quantity or to send that instruction to the POS. And then we have like the fixed keys. The POS key commands, the difference between the POS key commands and the fixed keys is that the fixed keys are going to work on every single profile, on every single panel, and the POS key commands can be defined by section on the panel. We are going to check that later, but I don't want to mess with this right now, but we are going to check it. And these next topics are not intended to be covered on this training. Basically, the architecture online standalone option, we can talk about them, but I don't have the intention to cover those because it's too many information and I don't think that the time is going to allow us. And data distribution, something where one is this is something that we are not going to cover neither. And the data director, replication, or transaction server, that right now it's web services. We are not going to check web services. And neither data distribution part 2 or the end of date routines. Unless you want to check something specific or you have specific question regarding these topics that we are not going to cover, we can just do that. We can cover them, or we can just do a high level review of them. So this is the first PowerPoint slide file. And this one, the second one, it is how to set up your company. So again, we have this use case that says Sport Brothers Inc. And then we have the same scenario, the same description that we had in the other slide, you know, in the other file. But in here it says that the same thing, the product has already started and everything, right? But, well, basically, this is the use case scenario. But we are not going to go through this unless you want to do this, and unless you want to do the hands-on training. I think that it's going to be hard for us to have like a hands-on, or to ask you to do something to perform an example, because it will be hard for me to see what you're doing and help you on the issues that you might face on them. So I don't know, if you want, we can just try to go through this, check what is needed. I am going to explain you the objective of the example, what is needed to apply that or to do that, and then check. If you have questions or something, we can just check those.
I think I'm fine with that approach.
Okay, so this one, it's like the preparation. Basically, I don't know if you are familiar with NIV, how to restore a backup, or how to create a new company. If you want, I might show you this really quick, but I don't know if you're familiar with this. If you are not familiar, I will like to show you what is needed.
I am not familiar. Steve, were you?
Yeah, man, I wouldn't know how to restore the database and also to create a company.
Okay, good. Let's do it. Basically, let me just go to the electrical virtual machine that I already have. Basically, to restore a backup, you have to do it from SQL. You don't have any tool or anything in NIV to restore the backup. So you don't have like something here. Actually, it is a database that is already there, that it was already configured. So basically, I'm going to just explain you a little bit about this. When we installed NIV, we have like different options to install the application. So we have like customer developer options and everything. So basically, we have like 3 main features that need to be installed, and those are like the Windows client, which is this one, Dynamics NIV 2018. We have this administration tool, and this is like the server administration tool that we are going to use to configure the service that we're going to use to open a connection to the database. And then we have like this development environment. These are the main 3 layers, the main 3 software pieces that we need to install in NIV, in the computer to have NIV. The other ones are to control this administration shell is to perform some commands like PowerShell commands to restore a database, to export objects, to do several stuff. Like, for example, if I open this administration shell, it's going to load all the commands that I can use okay, well, it is doing. I have to run it as an administrator. That's why I got this error message at the beginning. But basically, we have all these commands, like to copy a nav company, to export the objects, the application, and everything. So all these are like PowerShell commands, but are focused on NIV commands. So these are like not the PowerShell ones, like the regular ones. These are NIV focused commands. So we have like this nav server session, we can create a new nav web service, or these commands can be helpful for us to perform some administrative management or administrative tasks for the database or anything like that. But to restore a backup, we have to use SQL, and we need to open SQL Server Management Studio. Let me just type in SQL on my search box. So in order to be able to restore a database, I need to go to SQL and then restore the database. I don't know if you're familiar with it. I think that you're familiar with this because it's SQL, right? And for GP and AX, we use SQL as the database management tool, or the service to run.
Yeah, I'm familiar, and Steve is a DBA.
Excellent. So basically, we go here, then restore the database, and that's it. So once we do that, we're going to have this company here on this server, we have this name of the server, the LSNAV server, and the database that we have in this company. Right now, I only have these two. This is LS11, which is the LS1105 version of the database, and the LSObli. In the installer, you have the backup. So in here, when you decompress the installer, it's going to give you this BAK file. So basically, we're going to restore this file, and then it's going to create this database. On your virtual machine, or on the virtual machine you already have, this is the same backup, the backup of the same database that we have running, which is this one, the LS11. So once the database is restored, we can open the dev environment. Dev environment. And from the dev environment, we are going to open that database. So just to be sure that the database is running, that is there, and we have all these, the object designer. So we can check any object and everything. So if we have a license specific for one of our customers, we should go to Tools, License Information, and then upload our license. And in the case that you don't want to load the license to the server, you have the option to load the license to the database. So you can go here to File, Database, Alter, and you can store the database, the license in the database. So you can save the license in that database. So in that case, the license is only going to be able for that. It's going to be valid only for that company or for that database, right? So
what is the best practice?
It depends. If it's for one customer, I will say that you have to upload the license for the service, for the server. And if you have, like, for example, on your computer, you have different licenses for different customers. So you are handling like maybe 3 or 5 or 2 different databases for different customers, and you want to test the license, you should save the license for each database, the customer license, correct? So okay. This is like, it is like, for example, you're not using the same license for all companies that you're going to have on that server. So in this case, you need to have your own license or your own customer license on each. So to be sure that you are running the license of the customer, so you can check that the objects that are in that license work okay, and the processes can be performed. Because if you always use your license, your partner license, you're never going to face any issues regarding the license. But for a customer database, it is the best practice is to have their license to test everything. Okay, so you have both options to upload the license for the whole server or save the license on the database. If you don't have that license stored in the database, the license that is going to be used is the license that you have on the installer folder. So if you install NIV, in here we have like these program files, Microsoft Dynamics NIV 110, which is the NIV version. Then under service, we have all these folders, and here we have like the license, the default license that is installed with when you install NIV.
Roberto?
Yep.
Yeah, I must say thanks for this, because in a lot of the documentation that I've been reading, there hasn't been that quite precise differentiation between the uploading to the server as against to the database for the license.
Yeah.
But what you're saying is that that second option to the database makes the license specific to the actual database and hence the company.
No, it is actually this, like, for example, you have 2 customers database on your computer, on your laptop. You have a SQL installed, and you have like more than one database running on that computer.
Right.
If you use this option, if you go here to Tools, License Information, and
yes.
and pick Upload in here,
yes,
you are going to upload the license to the server. So that license is going to be used for all databases that you have on that server. So if I have this like LS Retail license, and I upload this license. If I just restart a new company, I am going to use this same license because this license is on the server. And for example, for a customer, if I am working with 3 different databases, and these 3 different databases are customer-specific databases. Let's say that I have like this customer, which is Starbucks, and I have another customer, which is KFC. So if I want to run or test any process regarding that customer, it is a good idea to have customer license on that company. So like, for example, for Starbucks, I'm going to use the NIV license for Starbucks. And for KFC, I'm going to use the license that was built for KFC. So in that way, I'm not going to upload the license on the server. I'm going to upload the license on the database. So in that way, I can be sure that every process that I am running, it is using their license or the customer license. So I can be sure that everything is in place to the license to work for that customer.
I'm just making a note on it. So finally, change versus upload. Let me just write a quick sentence.
No, exactly. Actually, upload is to upload the license, and it requires to restart the nav service tier. Which the nav service tier is the service that is running to open a connection to the company. So once you have like the database restored, you can open this Dynamics Nav administration tool. And on this administration tool, you have to run it as an administrator. And in here, you specify for this service, what is the database that is going to open a connection to. So if I go here to Dynamics NIV 110, and in here, I have the configuration for this service to open a connection to this database. Let me show you this one. So basically, I am configuring a service which is called Dynamics NIV 110. This service is created as a Windows service. So this is a service that is going to be used to open a connection to this database. So in here, I configure the services parameters. So like, for example, when I am running this service, I am having this service available to open a connection to this database. So if I go to the Windows client, when I open the Windows client, let me show you. The first thing that asks this when you open for the first time is going to ask you for the path to open a connection to a database. So in this case, it's not asking me because it is saved in one configuration file. So that file is stored or is saved once you open the first time, when you open the first connection to the database. But basically what I'm saying here is you're going to connect to the local computer on this port using this service. And what is going to give me here, once I pick that server, is going to display the available companies on this database. So I am using this service with these settings to open a connection to this database. And my connection string or my URL to connect to this database, this service actually, is this one, right? Are you following me?
Yeah, I'm following.
Yes, man, we are.
Okay, so basically we configured that service, but what I was telling you at the beginning is where you upload the license. So if you upload the license, you have to restart this service tier. You have to restart the service tier. You have these restart options in here. So once you click on the instance that you are running, on the service that you are running, you have the restart button in here. And because it is a Windows service, you can restart it from here as a Windows service, as any other Windows service. So you can restart the service in here in order to have the license updated. So once you upload the license, you will be able to run the processes or run anything based on the permissions of your license. Also, on the admin tool in here, you can see that you can hide or you can display the items that are on the license or are not in the license. So the user interface elements removal, this field in here, allows you to say, I am going to display everything that is in the license file and the user permissions. That means that I have access to all objects in the database based on the license permissions and the user permissions, or only the license file, or none, right? If I don't want to remove any user interface removal. What is going to happen if you have a customer license and you have this option, license file and user permissions? Maybe I don't have permissions to run any replenishment data or any replenishment setup or any replenishment features. So if I go here to departments right now, if I go here to replenishment, I can see all pages and all the objects that are in here or that are present on the replenishment model. So on the replenishment model, I can see the retail items, the store capacity, the stock coverage, everything. All these are like the shortcuts to these objects in the database. So if I just click in retail items, I am opening a page that is called retail items, or that is something that is called in some similar way. But basically, if I am specifying that what is going to be displayed on my user interface is what is in the license and the license file and the user permissions. The user permissions are on the user setup, but right now I'm not going to talk about that. But basically, if my license has no access to any object related to replenishment, if I have this field set up as it is right now, when I upload the license and restart my instance of this database, what is going to happen is that all these shortcuts are not going to be displayed. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, and then the user permission is another thing. But change, it is basically used when you want to access the code, when you want to read the code or something. So basically, let's say that my license is not having any permissions to read or to modify any retail code unit. Let's say that I want to open this customer order list panel. I want to check what is in the code. I want to open the design of this object. Right now, I have my LS retail license and it's a development license, so I can open the code and check everything in the code. But if it's a customer license, the most common license is that the customer does not have permissions to modify the code because it's too dangerous, right? So if the customer does not have access to this, what I have to do, if I am a developer, I'm going to check the code, I can change temporarily the license. So if I pick change, I can pick my license, and this license is going to be changed for my current session, right? So on this current session, I can open my LS11 database, and I'm going to be able to check the code. Right now, it is the same license, so it makes no difference, right? That is the main reason. But if I just change the license to use Kronos license, see, the license, the information on the license is different. So if I go here to LS11, this does not mean that that I am going to be able to run any process with this license, because I am not changing the license on the database or the server. I am changing the license only for my current session. So if I go here to customer order list panel and I try to open the design, I'm going to receive this error message, right? I am showing you this on the other way around, because basically how it works is that you, as customer, you don't have permissions to open the design of any of the objects. But when you want to change the license, is because you want to check the code or look at the code. So basically what I have to do is to change my license. So this is the main difference. If I change the license, I'm going to temporarily change that license for that, or for this current session to look at the code. And when I upload the license, what I need to do is to restart the service in order for this license to take place and to be valid and to process everything with that license. That's the main difference actually between the upload and the change.
Okay.
Okay, but well, I was telling you about this. This is what is going to control to which database I'm going to connect. So this is the LS11. This is the database I am connecting to, and in here on the Windows client, the first time that I open the NIV Windows client is going to give me this option in here, the URL or the server address that I'm going to connect. So this is the local host, my port. This is important to have this port, 7046. This port is defined in here. As you can see here, we have these client services. This is the port that we are going to use. So every time that you are going to set up, let's say that I'm going to set up a different database and I need to create a different service to open a connection to that database, because I cannot use the same service to open more than one connection to a different database, or to open more than one database. So I cannot do that because it is part of the configuration of the service, what database I'm going to connect. So if I go here, I can add more instances. So let's say that I have two different databases running on this environment. I can add a different instance, and in here I have to define the name of the instance, the ports of this instance. For the management services port is this one, 7045. So each tab in here has its name. So this port, what I'm going to specify in here is the port that I'm going to use for that specific feature. So for management services, I'm going to use port 7045. So I can say in here 8045. So I'm going to use a different port. And then for client, 8046. And then 8047, 8048, etc. Right? And in here, what is the account that I'm going to use to run that service? So I have the option to run it as a network service, but in a production environment, what it is recommended is to use a user account. So in a production environment, you always have to set up a user account to run the services. So most of the times on LR Retail projects, we ask the customer to create an account to be able to run services and to have admin rights and have connection to the database. So we call that account like NAS services or NIV user or NIV services user account or something like that. But it is basically what we need, or when we create a new instance. This is the default instance. Go ahead.
All right, Roberto.
Yep.
I'd like to ask you, pull on your experience a little. Do you have experience in installing this 3-tier in an environment where there's no Active Directory and they were having to overcome the issues of users and permissions?
Yep. Actually, you can, when you don't have an Active Directory and you want to connect from a different computer to this computer, like let's say this is my main server,
Yes.
and it's not in a domain, and I have some other computers that want to connect to this computer. What I always do is to create a temp folder and share that temp folder into the network. So once I do that, from the computer that I want to open the connection, I open that temp file, that temp folder, and I create an account, server credentials. I don't remember the name of this. It's credentials management or something like that. So I can specify the IP address to open a connection to that server.
Okay. What we did is we were just faced with a situation with an install for NAV. Mm-hmm. And it was a 3-tier architecture. The beauty about this with this architecture, while it may not have been NAV, you were able to use DNS names to connect from one computer to another. So what we did, we on the SQL box, we installed the database components. And then on the nav server, you know that when you install the Dynamics nav services, it gives us the NT authority. Sorry about that. I apologize for the noise that's in the background here. What we were able to do, we were able to deal with the permissions issues so that the SQL server was able to accept the requests, albeit it did it as NT authority anonymous logon. And we were able to overcome some permissions issues that we had. But I know that the things would have been much easier if we had a domain account, so therefore we could set up a domain services account. But we had to do that as the workaround, because you know Windows workgroups and stuff is very limited as it relates to permissions and stuff.
Yep. Yeah. Actually, what I have done is to go here to the Windows credential, and on the server that I want to open a connection, to share a folder, like maybe create a temp folder on the C drive, and then here add the Windows credentials to point to that server. So once I open the connection from the computer to the server, I am able to find the server when I open an ID.
Okay. I'd like to interestingly read up on that as an option as well. So if you have anything, maybe you could send that to me as well, because what we're trying to do is also to build up our own knowledge base. Because you know sometimes you might find, based on the client, the uniqueness of the client might not allow you to perform one workaround, but you may have another workaround. So we're trying to build our own internal databases for things like this, because not every client is going to be the same. So if you could send me, if you have any information on that, in using the credentials.
Yep. I think that I have something. Yes, I think that I have something.
All right, sounds good.
Well, basically, we are talking about this, like this instance, or this is like the service tier, and where you configure the instance to open a connection to this database. And once you have that connection, you can open it from here, and this is going to display all companies or available companies for that. So basically, you restore the connection and everything, and then you have like the connection to this database. And once you do that, in order to add a new company, you can go here to companies. Here. You can create a new company from here. So once you hit new, it's going to create a blank company for you. So the system is going to add, if you check on SQL, you have like right now all these tables that have the company's name on their name. So they have like company's name, items, company's name, stores, company's name, something. So it's going to display this list. So you have all these tables with all the data. Okay. So once you create a new company, it's going to create new tables or new objects for that new company, and it's going to be blanked. All the data is going to be, well, you're not going to have any setups or anything like that. So you can create a new company, or you can also have this option to copy that company. And that is going to create an exact company of the current company that you are picking to copy. So if I hit copy, it's going to create a new company with the name that I specified, like this in here test, and it's going to create a copy, an exact copy of this company. In the case of this use case, well, for this use case, it's saying that you have to create a new company with this name, and then you have to use the rapid start packages to configure that company. So right now, what I was checking in here is that on the installer, the rapid start files are not present. So if you try to find the rapid start files, you are not going to find them because they are not included on the installer. I don't know why, but they should be here. So basically what it's saying that you should use these rapid start files. I don't know if you're familiar with the rapid start packages, but basically are packages to upload information in a massive way.
Yes, we are.
Okay, so basically it is from here. So you can create a new company or create a copy of this company. Once you create a new company, it's going to be a blank company. So you can start from there. So this says that the user should have the role rapid start assigned. This is NIV setup. So basically in here, if you go to the user setup, user personalization, I think it's this user personalization. So if you go to the user personalization, you can see that each user can have a profile attached to it. So it is saying that basically, if you are going to use the rapid start packages, you need to have this role that says rapid start. So if you go here to super, maybe I can just edit this one and show you. So basically here you say that the profile for this user is going to be a different profile. Let's say that it's going to be rapid start. This one, rapid start service implementer. So what is going to happen is that right now at home, on this home menu, I am going to have this display that says retail buyer, and it has all these activities related to the retail buyer and these vendors, and all these parts of this page are like these vendors, activities, the Outlook email, and the items that are linked to this profile. But if I just change this profile ID, so the user now is going to have the rapid start services, and this is the company that is going to open when you use this user account. So if I go here, okay, in here, hit okay in there, and then reopen a connection to this database, my home screen is going to be different, because now it's going to display the rapid start services role, and on the activities and all these are going to be different. So you will see it right now. So I'm going to show you really quick.
While that is coming up, so sometimes we are doing user acceptance testing, and we have a test environment where we have done all the configurations, and now they have a load of transactions in that environment. And we just want to move the configurations over without moving over the transactions.
Yes, there are two ways.
Through the rapid start, or is that done through the SQL?
No, there are two ways to do that. You can set up a scheduler job with all configurations, and then you can say, I am going to push all configurations from this company to this other company. There is a job I created actually, and this job allows you to move all configurations needed from one database to another. So you can use replication to have an exact copy of setup with no transactions. Or you have another option. You can run SQL queries to delete data of all transactional tables. And also I can share with you a query to do that. But this query is just a base, it's a basis. So you can just modify it or just customize it to what you need.
Well, my experience with trying to remove the transactions is that you always end up with orphaned tables or fields or so I suppose the other way would be a best practice rather than trying to delete the transactions.
Yes, actually, I will recommend to use the HO2 template job. And that is a job that can be imported using rapid start. So you can import this job. I think that I have it. I can show you that really quick, actually. But in here, if you go to these departments right now, let me just show you real quick, actually. So you have this scheduler model. And in here under the scheduler model, you have these jobs. And the jobs are basically used to push or pull data from one company to another one. or one database to another one. It's the same actually. You can control to a single company or to different companies, or basically companies part of the database. So there is run POS32all, this one. This is one of the jobs that has all tables. So if you check in here, if you hit edit, you highlight this job and then hit edit. And under the data replication tab, you have all the tables that are going to be pushed or pulled depending on your settings. But basically, it is pushing or sending this data of all these tables. So you can create another company, a blank company, and then push all this data to that company. Okay? So what I did is to create a new one or create a different job, because this does not have the NIV tables. It only has the LS NIV tables. Or let's say it is integrated with NAV. LS Retail is integrated with NAV, but this is not considering any GL accounts or something like that. And if you're trying to do an exact copy of the configuration that you have on one single company to another one, you need those. You need all these GL accounts and all these configurations that are not covered on this job. So what I always do is to use that job and modify it accordingly. So let's say that you run this job and you say, like, for example, oh, you know what, this table is not on my database, or this table was not replicated. Then you can add a subjob with that table once you identified what is the missing table you have. So, but I think that it covers pretty much all tables, but maybe because of the time that I created that job, some new tables are present. So I cannot guarantee you that it's going to cover all tables, but you can work from there. You know, you can have this job as a basis and then customize it according what is missing on your database. But this is one of the jobs. This is POS32all. Basically, this is going to push all data from one company to another one. But as I said, I can share with you another job that I created, and this job is like, it is called HO2 template, or head office to template database. And basically, the intention of that job is to create a new company, an empty company, and then push all these setups that you have on one single company to another one, and do not have any transactions on that.
So I noticed that you specify it's a 32-bit point of sale.
Mm-hmm.
So do you have to set up separate ones for 32-bit point of sale and a 64-bit point of sale?
This was basically created because previous version of LS Retail was not working on 32 bits. Actually, you have to run the client on 32 bits. You have to run if you check the LS Retail the LS Start, it is going to open the client in 32-bit. And this is basically because there are some DLLs that are not present on the 64-bit folders. So this post 32-bit is to run the POS in a 32-bit machine. So this is the main reason why this job was created. Okay, so it was because, well, it is actually because the Windows client or the retail client should run on the 32-bit client. So if you check in here on the LS Nav Start, in here, all these buttons are pointing to the 32-bit exe file. So let me just show you really quick. Retail POS. Here, it is pointing to this Windows client, which is the 32-bit exe. And that is because some of the hardware or the DLLs that are used to run POS transactions are not present on the 64-bit. So you're going to face issues or error messages when you try to, like, for example, finish a sale or cash out a sale. When it's sending to the printer, when this transaction is sent to the printer, you're probably going to face an issue if you run the 64-bit. So one of the release notes, actually, every time that the product team sends a release or send a notifications of a new release, they add this note that says, remember that the POS client needs to be executed using 32-bit client. And this is because of the DLLs and all these components that are not present on a 64-bit folder.
Okay, thanks.
No problem. So, as I said, you know, I can share with you this job that I created. It is like a really basic job. Well, not basic, but it has a bunch of tables that it covers pretty much all setups. So you can use that job to send the information from one company to another one and keep a blank database with no transactions. But also you have the possibility to use this query that I can share with you as well. And this query, I think that it covers all transactional tables, but well, it depends. It is up to you what to use, you know. There is no like a rule, but there is no other tool to do that. So basically we have like these two options: to run that job, to send out that information to a different company, or to clear out the transactions using the query, the SQL query actually. Okay, where was I? In here. Well, this is the one. Let's go back to this one. There should have the role rapid start. As you might see, this was modified. So right now I only have these two modules on the Windows client. I have the home module, and in here I have my parts of this page are different of the other one. And in here it says rapid start service implementer. And the departments, well, this is the one that has all the shortcuts to everywhere, right? To everything in the system. So I have like these models, and we have like these sub-models, like for example in here, the retail POS, back office, depending on what I'm going to set up. These are like the shortcuts to those parts. And then it says that it's now our head office database, or head office. And then we will use rapid start packages to set up the company. As I mentioned, this rapid start wizard, as you might see here, it says that you have to open this new company and then start the rapid start services wizard, and then fill in the information for step 1 to 3. And we have these 8 packages. And basically what it's saying is that you have to use this one. And the main reason what we are using this rapid start services wizard and everything is because it makes it easier for us to configure or to set up the company. So in here you might see that you have to enter the company details, the communication details, and everything in here. So once you finish with this, you have like you have the option to import all the packages. So once you import all those packages, you're going to have like many records in here saying, like, for example, stores or items or everything related to the company or to the setup of this company. So the packages are not on the latest release. I don't know why, but they should be there. And in here it's basically saying how to import and apply the packages. And what I was telling you, that the main reason to use this retail one or this rapid start services implementer is because the main difference is that in here we have like this post process that is not present on the NIV rapid start standard packages. So this post process basically makes some additional activities. Like for example, if you are importing a store, you are not only importing the store record, you are importing the store, and then the store record is going to add some other records and some other tables, but that is going to be handled by a different process. And during the posting of those records, it's going to process some other activity, or it's going to process something else, some more records, or it's going to do something else. So basically, the main reason why LS Retail added this post-process column is because we need to process some other records, because when we create a post terminal, we need to add what is related to that post terminal. Or when we are creating a staff, we need to process some other information in some other tables, not only the table that has the same name of the information that we're importing. Okay, so I don't have the packages. I don't have them in here, but basically you have to import them. I'm not going to spend much time in this, but it's like basically import the packages and then apply those packages. This is time consuming actually. If I want to show you this, we will spend like in here like maybe half an hour or more just waiting to the packages to be processed. So I'm not going to do that. And then we have like this, the default data setup. And this is the explanation of what is in the packages. So wow, 4 of these, the first packages. Go ahead.
So, sorry, Roberto?
Yep.
All right, okay, I understand you're saying that, okay, you're not going to spend time, and I understand we have a time constraint and stuff. So is it okay then, because I tried doing this already, you know, following these same templates and PowerPoints, etc., and I was getting some errors. Can I email those errors to you, CC Kirk, so that we're on the same, you know, page, some of the things that's happening? So can I email those errors and you look at them for me?
Yeah, sure.
All right, great, thanks.
So, well, it's basically the explanation of each package. What are the tables that are going to be imported with that, with those packages? So I'm not going to spend time on this. So basically it's the definition of these packages. And as you might see, the package 5 to 8 is data from Excel sheet provided with release or customer actual data. So this is information that you're going to add to the system, you know, like with your own or with your customers' information. So I'm going to, as you might see here, it's like basically the definition of the instructions to import these packages and everything. And it says, now the company is ready for transactions like POS sales and statement posting. So this is like the basic. The rapid start packages are going to provide you with a basic configuration. With this configuration, you're going to import the information regarding items and everything. And this information should give you a functional database. After that, we also have like this import-export worksheet that can also be used to export and import data. So this import-export worksheet basically has all the POS profiles, hardware, menu profiles, and it basically comes with the default ones. If you check in here on my company right now, if I go to the import-export worksheet, import-export worksheet. If I go here to the import-export worksheet, I can see right now I only have, well, I have the demo data. So if I go to the POS functional profile, I can see that I have 8 different profiles. So if I click in here, I can see what are the profiles that I have. So I have one which is called default. In the rapid start information, you are only going to have default. All these ones, the kiosk, mobile, hospitality, forecourt, electronics, and demo, these are additional profiles that come in the demo database. So you can export them and import them into your database if you want to play with them. But basically, if you use the rapid start information or files, you're not going to only install the default ones. One of the great or the most functional parts of this is that all tables related with these profiles are also going to be exported or imported. So in here we have like the POS functional profile, and there are some other tables related to this profile. So if we go here, let me just open this a little bit more. Oops. Let's say that I want to export one profile. So if I want to export that functionality profile, I can go here and then say, I'm going to export demo. If I click on that one, that means that I am picking this or highlighting this only demo profile. If I go here, export, it's going to prompt for a file name and a location. So I can say, I'm going to save it in the desktop and then hit save. So this is going to export the information that I have regarding the demo profile into an XML file. So this XML file, I can check that file that was exported, this one. So this is basically the functionality profile that I am exporting. and all the components of that profile. So basically I have this profile, and in that way I can just take that profile and import it into a different company, right? If I want to export all these profiles, I can do that as well. I can just highlight or select all profiles, and in that way I will be exporting all profiles and all components that also are these related tables. Okay, so for all these, for each line in here on the import export worksheet, I have like the profiles, and I have these related tables on the fact box on the right. So if POS menu profiles, I have all these related tables, as you might see here, and then the POS interface profile, the style profiles, and everything, right? So also I have the POS commands, POS data tables. These are all like records to export. So in here, you have, as you might see, we also can export the jobs and all the related tables with the jobs, subjobs, etc. So basically, this is what I can use to export information or import information, and that I also use when I am preparing my database. So when I am creating my company from scratch, I'm not going to have any of those, so I can export them from the demo database and import them into the new company. Let me just go back to the Excel. So well, this is part of what I just told you. So this can be exported and imported. It's profiles, commands, data tables, scheduler job headers, or the scheduler jobs actually, not job header only, and their WS request and the tags. So the store card for the head office keeps few central things. What this means is that we on the store card we have number series, like for example for statements or for some other tasks, like for example for staff management or for POS terminals. Depending on what store are we using, we're going to have like this number series. So if you check on the retail demo database, on the design, on the POS stores, on the stores, we have this head office store. And this is basically because if we are performing some activities at the head office or at the back office, like creating a new discount or creating a new staff or something like that, there are some features like for in here, in the number series for POS terminals. So if I create a new POS terminal, because I am currently on the head office store, or yes, store database, these are the number series that are going to be used when creating a new POS terminal. Or these ones are when I am creating a new staff, this is the number series that is going to be used. The item number series, this is the one. So there are some other number series that are defining here. And basically this is because I am at the head office database. So the first setup that we have to check when creating a new or when deploying a new blank company is under the administration, LS Retail Administration. On the retail setup, we have the basic setup, and in here we specified what is the store, the local store number. If you see in here, there is the local store number, which is HO or head office store. This is, I can drill down on this field to check the list of the stores. So in here, the HO, I am located on this. And for new stores, this is the number series that I'm going to use. So on the store card, I have some number series for staff, for POS terminals and everything. And for stores, I have the number series on the retail setup record or page. So in here, and I have another number series, as you may see here, when creating items. There are some other sections in the system to specify what number series to use when creating items. But basically, it's going to look for these. And if I have another one set up on the store card, it's going to use the one that is on the store card. So it's going to be from the most general to the most specific setup. So this is going to be this. Well, I'm going to talk about that in the definition of the profiles and how the default profile is going to help us to configured everything in the system. But basically in here on the retail setup, you set up these default price group, or the bad posting group, or what are the main setups, you know, the main configurations to use. Right now I am at the head office database on the head office store. So if I create a new POS terminal, it's going to use the number series that is in the head office store. So let me just go back to here. So this is like the location code for each store. It is recommended or best practice to use the same ID for the store and the location code. So as you might see here on this picture, the number of the store is HO and the ID for the location is HO. That is because there are some reports that are going to run using the location code. So if the location code has a different ID, it's going to be a little bit confusing for the users to understand if they are looking at the warehouse that it's for the store 1 or for store 2 or for store 3 or whatever, you know. Sometimes that we do not put many attention, or we do not check this, or we do not understand this, because when you run the report, sometimes you say, the user says, I am trying to see the inventory for location store 1, but I am not finding that location. So most of the times they realize that the location is named, has a different ID, and that is one of the main reasons why they got confused.
Roberto?
Yep.
Just one little question, please don't laugh when I ask. Listen, the item numbers, you see, are the items that you set up in LS Retail. Are these the same item numbers in the regular inventory module?
Like what? Do you want me to check what is the number series that we're using?
Yes. Is it? Are these a different set of item numbers?
Yeah.
Well, you have two sets of items. You have retail items and you have items.
Yep.
Gotcha. Okay, I'm clear now.
So right now, if I just create a new item, let's see. So this is number series that picked this, then 100,030, right? So if I check the configuration, let me just go back to the store card.
Roberto, his question wasn't specifically on the numbering series for the items. I think he's having the same problem I have. I don't know where NAV ends and LS Retail begins.
Oh, okay. Well,
NAV has items,
yes,
and LS Retail has retail items.
Yes, but basically, the items that we are creating are NAV items as well. The only difference, or the main difference, is the page that you are opening. When you open retail items, you have some extra fields, retail related fields. Let's call them that way. When you open items, which is the page, the NIV page for items, you're not going to see the retail item fields. So like, for example, let me just show you here. This is the item numbers that is going to be picked. You just saw it right here. You see it? This is 100,030, right? This is the new item I created, and this is the last date used. So why is using this? Because I am currently on the head office store. This database is set up as the head office company store. And this is the number series that I have in here. If I don't have any retail item numbers in here, it is going to pick the number series from the retail setup, right? But basically, let's see this. Let me just go back to retail items. This is under this model, LS Retail Back Office Product Design, right? So I can open these retail items. And as you might see here, I'm going to see this list of the items. And basically, these are the NIV items as well. So every time that I created an item, I am creating a record on the item table. But the view in here for these retail items is going to include some additional retail fields. So in here, if you go to here, you can see this POS tab, and this POS tab controls the behavior of this item on the POS. So like, for example, if I want to weight the item, so like, for example, I need to use a scale, and then when typing the item ID or when scanning a barcode, it is going to prompt the user to use a scale to specify the price or the weight of the item. So these are like to control how the item behaves in the POS, this stuff. But if I go here, let me just go to the items in NIV. Let me just go to items in NIV. But in here, department, sales and marketing, inventory and pricing, right? So this is the NIV page for items. So let me just show you. Okay, this is a different view. This is the NIV page for items. So if you check in here, if I try to look for my item, the one that I just created, 130, right? 100,030. This is my item. I just created that record from the retail item page, but it is an nav item. It is not a retail item. Well, that is only the page. But if I open the same item in here that I have in here, retail item card, 50,000, this one, 50,000, this one. If I hit edit, let me show you the main difference. This is the NIV item card. Let me just 1 second because it's taking so long. Place me here. And the other one, retail item. Here. So no matter what, if I create the item from the NIV page, the NIV item page, or if I create this item from the LS Retail item page, it is going to create a record on the item table. But the view is different. The page is displaying some other fields. Like for example, this is the nav page. And as you might see here, I don't have like the prices, the price lists. I don't have the distribution tab. I don't have some tabs that are present on the retail item page. You see? So the main difference is that if I want to operate retail items, I need to run this view or this page.
Right.
But it is the same record actually. We are looking at the same record. The main difference is that we have additional fields.
Right. So when you're using the rapid start, does rapid start separate it into retail items and items?
No.
No. So it will just put retail items and have all the fields.
Yep.
Okay.
So in effect then, what differentiates one from the other is the sequencing, the numbering.
Yeah, the main difference is that because if I create a new item from the NIV page, I am going to use the NIV number series.
Right, number series.
Yep. But as you might see here also, these shortcuts, like for example, this variant shortcut is different than the variants on the item in NIV, right? So there are some slight differences, and there are some other fields that are not displayed on the NIV item card. So if I want to link an item framework, a variant framework, I cannot do it from here, from the NIV page, from the NIV item page. And as you might see here on the top of the window, you might see the name of this page, like retail item card, this item, and this description. And on the other one, you have like the item card, which is the NIV standard item page. Okay, So if I want to attach a variant framework code, I can do it from here on the General tab right away. But in here, I don't have that option because this is the NIV card. So we are using the same record. The only difference is that we are seeing different fields for the same record. So if I modify it in here, let's see. If I just hit refresh in here, I don't see any change in here in the description. Do you see? Description in here, I just changed this description and I cannot see it in here. So, okay, it was refreshed now. So as you might see, I am working with the same record.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Yep.
Great. So, no, well, this is one of the things that I was just telling you. The number series for data created centrally at head office are defined on the numbering fast tab. So as you might see here, we have like this demo is the same picture of the window that I just showed you. And basically it has the number series that are going to be used when adding new records for POS terminals, for staff ID, for item numbers, etc. So next, the retail setup. So this retail setup from when you're creating a new blank company, the retail setup right now is this is the demo database. So I'm not adding anything and I'm not changing anything. Basically, if I go to the retail setup, this page that says retail setup, and in here it says that you have to check this LS retail in use field. So this is part of the settings that are needed on an LS retail company, a new one, because this is not automatically loaded, and this is not part of the Rapid Start package as far as I remember. But if not, you have to be sure that you have this field checked, then define the local store, and in this case is HO, and then the default price group. This default price group is basically used when you create a new item. It's going to create a line for that item with the specific price you have. One of the things that you have in here on retail companies, on retail products, is that when you create an item and based on the default price list that you have, it is going to add a record with that price for the item. So you have two different prices, well, two different places where you store the price. As you might see here at the head office and on the retail card, you have $80 for this, or 80 currency of this as the unit price for this item. And then including tax is 100. Because I have the all price group, if I go to the pricing tab, I have a list of price all. So if I change the price to be 90 as the unit price, the tax is calculated and the pricing here on the general tab is going to be updated to the same one, right? This is because we can have a base price for the item, and we have the possibility to add more price list. So let's say that we are going to have the same item with different prices on different distribution, on different stores. So let's say that for stores north, or for stores that are restaurants, we are going to have a different price list. So like, for example, on the store 5, we are going to use this bar price list, or this bar price list is going to have the priority. So we can add a new price for this item for this specific group of stores. So in this case, we only have this store 5. So we can have this store 5 in here and then say for this bar, we're going to have like $95 for this. So what the system is going to do is when you are running a sale for this specific item on that specific store or group stores, this is the price that is going to pick for this item. But this is the default price group. So right now I have all. So that means that this is like the base price for the item. So in this case, I can say I'm going to put it back to 80. And in here, it's going to update the general price group. And this is how it works in the retail item card. So based on the default price group that you have on the retail setup, is going to depend how this works. So if I modify the default price group to be bar on the retail setup, this is going to be the price that is going to update the retail item card. So you can have like the general price for all stores in here, or the base price, and you can have different prices on different regions, or different stores, or different store groups, or I don't know. You know, it might be only one single store with different prices. So, but this is basically what you set up on the retail setup. What is the default price group, right? So I have all in here. And this is about posting group that is going to be used, like national in this case. So this is the business posting group that we're going to use for prices. So this is basically how we set up this information. And in here, as you might see, this is what is telling you in here. So these are the fields that you need to fill in, and need to make sure that these number series are present, because if not, you're going to face some issues when creating something, or when adding prices to an item or something like that. So when creating new items or PS terminals, etc., system will pick up number series from the store defined in the retail setup. As I said, you know, in here on the retail setup, we have this company database set up as the head office. So the number series that are going to be picked are the number series that are defined on the head office numbering tab. So in here, this is the post terminal, staff numbers, etc. So this is an exercise, and basically it says that they want to have the retail item set up. Well, this is basically what we just reviewed, is map the retail in use.
So Roberto, so if you're using, you have a 16 store rollout, and you're therefore doing the setups for one store, and then you're using those setups to copy over into another store, we have to make sure that after we do the copy, that we go in and change all the number series for the new store, so it doesn't pick up the number series of the old store.
Not necessarily. Actually, the idea is to have one single place to manage everything. And the idea will be to use a HO store. So that's the main reason why in the demo database you have an HO store. And because of that, the idea is to manage everything at the head office. So if the stores are going to create items, let's say that they are going to add new items to the database, they should do it at the head office, at the back office, not on the stores.
Can you go back to the numbering, the screen with the numbering?
Yep. In here on NIV or on the PowerPoint slide?
NIV, that's all right. NIV.
Retail setup.
I was just about to say, you're one of the few consultants I've seen as navigating and not using the help. Now you're using the help. The search, not the help, the search.
Yeah. Actually, it's easier. Well, I know the path, but you know, it's easier to just find the search box, and that's it. There you go.
All right, so therefore those numbers would be, all of those numbers, the staff IDs, item numbers, regardless of the POS, it would be controlled from the head office.
Yep.
All right, so say you have 4 stores with 3 points of sales each. The item numbers will be the same throughout.
Yep.
But the staff would also be the same throughout, because you wouldn't identify the staff individually by store.
Yes.
the promotions are all, so these are all general. You're correct. So these are all general, right? But if you were doing something like receipt numbers,
Mm-hmm.
you're not seeing that numbering series here.
The receipt numbers, because that is not controlling here. That is built using the POS terminal setup. So let's check the store number one. So let's see the same tab. Can you see it?
Right.
So this one says that for this store we're going to use these POS terminals.
Right.
And these number series. And these ones are the statement numbers.
Yeah. Right.
But in here, I don't have a statement numbers on the head office. But
yeah,
you know, there are some slight differences. But basically, if you're creating an offer, a discount offer, let's say that you're creating right now, you're creating a discount offer or a promotion. In here, it is going to use this because on the retail setup, it is configured to use head office as the store. So once I create a promotion, it's going to pick the number series from here and it's going to add that promotion. But there is retail user that we haven't checked. On the retail user here, you define to which store belongs the user and to which POS terminal if you want. So like, for example, this user that is LSNIV Super right now has this store one, terminal one. So if I just run a statement or create a new statement, the number series that it's going to use is the number series that I have on the store one. If I am on store two, it's going to use the number series that I have on store five, right? So like, let's say, let me just create a new store. If I create a new store, the number series that it's going to pick is the one that I have on the retail setup. So in the retail setup, I think that the next store is 70 or 60 or something like that. So if I create a new store, I don't remember what number it should pick. So it should be like 60 or something like that. So test. You see, it is not giving me any number series for store. Let me just discard this. Let me create a new one. New. Right now, it's allowing me to pick from number series. What is the number series that I have? So I have this. Because of this checkbox that says manual numbers, it is allowing me to add a number for this store. But if I just untick this checkbox, it should pick 16, right?
Yeah.
But basically, this is the number series, and this R store, it is defined on the retail setup. But let me just go back to POS terminals instead of store. Let me just go to POS terminals. POS terminals. This one. POS terminal lists. So in here, I can create a new one. And the number series that is going to use is the one that I have on the head office. So in here, as you might see here, our POS terminal is the number series that is going to use, and it's going to create the 86, right? So if I go here, codes, okay. Now it picked 86, and it's linking this POS terminal to my store HO because I am currently on that store because of the retail setup. That is the main reason.
Okay.
So there is, then here I can say, okay, this is not going to be a link to head office, link it to store one. And what I can do, we have all these features in here that says copy to current terminal. So if I don't want to spend time struggling with this, I can just use that function and copy to this current terminal from one existing one. So if I just pick terminal one, and I'm going to copy over everything that I have on store one, on post terminal one, sorry, to post terminal 86. Another thing to have in mind is that you're not going to number your POS terminals with the same ID. So if I want to create another one, a new one with the P0001 as the ID, is going to give me an error message. So if you have like a store 1 and you want to number the POS terminals as POS1 and POS2, you can do it for the first time. But if you have store number 2 and you want to also add POS1 and POS2, you won't be able to do that. You have to you will need to create a sequential number. So it is like post terminal 1 and 2 are used, so you need to create 3 and 4, even though these terminals are terminal 1 and 2 for the new store, right? So it is like a standardization that you have to follow for that, because if you want to create terminal 1 and terminal 2 on all stores, that is not going to be possible.
Well, couldn't you put SO1 PO1, SO1 PO2, SO1 PO3, SO2 PO1, SO2
Yes.
PO2?
Yep. Yes, you can do that.
All right. Just to give you a time check.
Yes. Well, just basically you can say S1, SO1 PO1, SO1 PO2, and everything. It's easier actually to do that.
Right.
And the number series and receipt, the receipt number and what is going to be printed is controlled in here. There is a printing tab. Oh, I just click on the wrong one. This, and you have like this receipt barcode.
Right.
And in here you can control what is going to be printed. Basically, this number is coded. So if you create, like, for example, SO1 PO1, that number is going to be 01 PO1 on the POS.
Right.
For the receipt number. So this is like the way that is going to be easy for you to understand from where these sales was made, you know, or where this sale was finished or was performed. So what was it? Where was it? Yes. So these are like the default setups, and all these default setup, as you might see, this control like basically the number series, and if the retail is in use. If that checkbox is not enabled, when you try to run the POS client, you won't be able to do it because it's going to tell you Hello Retail is not in use or something like that. So this is like a checkbox to control Hello Retail to work. And then, well, basically it says that create 2 new stores. These 2 new stores, that is Liverpool and Manchester.
Sorry, Roberto, again, just to give you a time check. I don't know if you want to take the break now.
Oh, yes, sure. Let's do a 10 minutes break. Is okay for you?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. And could we start like just in the first minute? I just want to ask a question about that install in the first couple of slides.
Okay. And when we come back for the break, Roberto, I'll present myself and just have a quick chat with you. So, okay. Thank you, guys.
Excellent. Thank you.
Interesting.
We are going to check that later. I'm just going to, you know, sometimes it's like trying to introduce you to this type or concepts or how the system works to make easier for you to understand when we check that. But, well, basically, the tender types, we were on the tender types. So these are like the settings or the basic settings that needs to be present for the tender types. So as you might see, there is a checkbox that says may be used. And this is like if you want to control it, if that payment method is available for the users. So this is one of the checkboxes that needs to be checked. So this may be used, needs to be checked for your tender types to be used at the POS. If that is unchecked, you won't be able to, even when you have a button set up for that tender type, you won't be able to use that tender type or that payment method. So when the customer pays with cash, we want the drawer to open to be able to put the money in the drawer and give back change. So you have this checkbox that says drawer opens, and this is basically to control if the drawer opens when you are using this tender type. So if, for example, in a transaction you are paying with credit card and you are doing partial payments, one with credit card and another with cash, if you use cash on the transaction, the drawer is going to open. But if, like, for example, you say for cash, for credit card payments, I don't want the drawer to be open, so you have to untick this checkbox. So it is like basically how to control the tender types. Well, it is a little bit hard to tell what are the specific settings for each payment method, but you can have a good idea if you check on the demo setup. So it is basically all these checkboxes are the ones that are going to control how the payment method or how the POS is going to behave if you use this payment method on a transaction. We are going to check those a little bit later, but basically this is the configuration that is giving you. This amount fast tab, it says what is the configuration that you have to follow. Like for example, in here, change, and what is the change or the tender type or the payment method to give change back to the customer. So if you are paying cash, there is a setting on here on the amount tab that specifies if you want to pay more money that the transaction is. Like, for example, if the transaction is $100 and you have a checkbox that says over tender allowed, which is this one that is mentioning here. If you have that checkbox, that means that you can overpay for that transaction. So you can say, I'm going to pay 120 or 100 or $200. Let's say that the transaction is 180 and you're going to pay $200. If you want to allow the user to type in 200 and then finish the transaction, then you have to specify what is the tender type that is going to be used to give the cash, the change back to the customer. So in this case, we are using the same tender type. As you might see here, we have this code, which is 1. This is the tender type 1 for this store 1. And the change tender type code is the same. So if we're paying $200, we're going to give the customer $20 back. So in here, on the over tender allowed, is a checkbox that allows the user or the cashier to pay for that. Let me just go back to the store. Here on the store list, let me show you those checkboxes because it is important to understand the functioning of this. So in here, the cash option or the cash tender type, which is the first one, hit edit. We have this amount tab, and in here we have this over tender allowed. So this means that we can allow the customer to pay more money and to give change back to the customer. So if we have this enabled, we have to specify what is the tender type that we're going to use to give change to the customer. So we have this change tab, and in here, as you might see, it says change and it has the same tender type. If we don't have this over tender allowed, like for example, for credit cards, you don't want the customer or the user, the cashier, to say, I am going to pay this transaction, which is $180 with $200 paid with credit card. You cannot charge the customer for $20 more that the current transaction is, right? So this, and in the case of the cards or the credit cards, this over tender should not be checked. So these are like all these settings regarding the payment method. And under tender allowed allows you to do partial payments. So basically this under tender is going to be enabled for all tender types. And this return minus allowed is to allow you to use this payment method to do returns. So basically it's what is doing this checkbox. And the other one, this keyboard entry allowed, is if the cashier has to type in the quantity or the amount of money that they are going to use to cash out the transaction. So basically, these are like the settings for the tender type. I'm not going to to describe every single one. In case you have like a question or something, you can always set up the help. So once you hit F1 on your keyboard, this is going to open the help site. And it is depending on what you have. When you install the NIV, well, this is the help. Right now, it is not installed on my computer or on the virtual machine. But what we can do always is to modify the help to always look at the LS online help. And this is going to give you a description of each field and when is the functioning. There are some fields that for sure are not there, but well, almost all fields are can be found on the LS online help. So if you have a question regarding one of these fields, you can always check for help on the online website. But well, I am not just going to describe every single one. And in here, as you might see, it is basically what you have to check. So this is like a guide on how to set up this cache standard type. And well, assign grounding if necessary. Well, this is like very big. It is not like easy to define if necessary. That makes no sense. Well, that doesn't tell anything to me. But then on the change fast tab, define text for change shown on the receipt. So basically this word in here that says change can be something different, you know, but this is what is going to be printed on the receipt. And then you have like this standard type customer. This is a different payment method that you can use. So you can charge a customer for a transaction in the POS. So here it basically says what you have to set up for this standard type, which is type customer. So in this case, you are going to charge a customer into an account. So you can just have accounts payable for customers. So you can give credit to customers and finish transaction at the POS. But it is not a common setup, but it is there, right? It is an example. And in here, we have this voucher gift card. As you might see here, it says that we will set this up when we come to info codes. Actually, that is one of the other features that we can just, or another feature that we can set up with info codes, which are the gift cards and the vouchers. Basically, gift cards are well, we can sell gift cards at the POS and then pay with those gift cards that we issue. And we also have vouchers, and vouchers are used when you don't want to get back money to the customer. So you, instead of giving the customers money back, you issue a voucher to them and they can use that voucher to pay for another transaction later in the future. So this is like basic functionality that we can set up with info codes, and we're going to cover that later. Well, not today, but later. And then this is the requirement. And it says that the customer wants to have an expense accounts for window cleaning and snow shoveling. This is basically to set up income and expense accounts at the POS. In the POS, you can set up income or expense accounts. I didn't show that in here on the store configurations, but in here, if you go to navigate, then cash and safe management, you can have these income or expense accounts. So you can set up the system to allow the cashier to do this type of transaction. So the user can take some money from the drawer and pay for window cleaning on the store. So as you might see here, it's a really easy setup to do. It is like, for example, you want to allow the cashier to do expenses at the POS level. And then you have this option in here that says look up on POS that allows the user to look at a list of the possible expenses they can do at the POS. So this is like only to prompt the user with a list of the expenses they can pick, and then they can say, well, I'm going to pay for window cleaning $100. So they can take out that money from the drawer and take it out from the cash they have in the drawer. So this is like a very basic configuration. And basically you have the description of the expense or the type, income or expense based on what you want. Suspense, I actually haven't used this one, but I am assuming that this suspense is like, I don't know. I haven't checked it. Well, actually, I don't know. I'm not going to tell something that I'm not sure about. But basically, it's always expense or income that we use. So this is going to post an outcome or an income depending of what is the account type. So,
Roberto,
yep.
payouts are common, so I understand that. What sort of, why would a cashier take extra income that doesn't go through the cash register?
Well, in here, as you see, there is only one that says extraordinary income. The other one is the gift card sale that can be configured as an income account. Okay. But I think that in all North American projects, this is not the way we should configure gift cards. For North American versions of LR retail projects, we always use an item because of the tax.
Yeah.
Because of the tax calculation, we never use incomes. Actually, I think that in almost all projects in the US or in North America, we never use incomes at the POSs.
The only time I've ever seen it, Kirk, is like if your local jurisdiction, your local store is raising money for a specific fund, like maybe a charity, and they're doing bank account deposits to them, so they're storing them. It's that way you don't keep a jar of cash, you know, on the counter for somebody to steal. You just constantly put it into a particular GL number and then make a deposit.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Well, you have the ability, you have the possibility to set up that. So just checking, right? So this was the example. Basically, create these two, and then you have like this, well, setup explanation to register the income at the POS terminals or expenses. Well, it's the same. Oh, sorry. So in here, the store setup, well, I think that I talked already about this. This is like the copy functions. These copy functions allow you to copy from one existing store to a new one. So you can just copy tender types and everything. And as I said, the best practice is to configure one single store with at least 2 POS terminals, work with that, test that, make sure everything works good, and then copy it over to a new one, and then create your other stores once you're sure that everything works as you want. So this is like the example. Basically, create 2 new expense accounts. These are already there on the demo database, so I'm not saying that. I'm not doing that. And then the copy function is, I tested this with the tender types, but it works seamlessly with the incomes and the expenses. So if you have like 6 income and expense accounts, you can just copy it over to another store. That's it. It is not nothing else. And then this is like the staff setup or the staff that is needed for the store. So it says that they need a cashier and a manager. And the main difference between these is that you define the permissions for these users or for this staff. So they said that they both should be able to sell at the POS at both stores. This is a good example because you can have a single staff that can be logged in more than one POS terminal or more than one store. So this example basically is that you have to set up 2 employees with different permissions. And also, you need to make sure that these 2 staff users or these employees have to be able to run a sale on the POS or at the POS. So it says that the manager should be able to give up to 20% discounts, and it should be able to change price and print reports. So these are permissions. Basically, these are like settings regarding the staff permission group to allow the user to perform some activities or some processes at the POS. So in here it says what the manager should be able to do and what the cashier should be able to. So in here, the cashier should be able to give up to 5% discount, and these void and suspend transactions open the drawer without a sale. So these are like the settings on the staff permission groups. So let's go to the staff card. Let me just show you really quick what this example is about. So if you go to LS Retail POS, you can go to here to back office, or yes, to POS back office. Then you have like these. I think that it's under product design. I don't remember actually. No, it is not in here. It's LS Retail POS. Maybe here, I think. Yes, we have staff here. So we have like the stores, then the POS terminals, and the next step is the staff. So for Star 101, if you check for this staff is not linked to any store. If you check on the general tab, this staff has no store in here. When you have this kind of setup, that staff can open and can do a transaction, or can do sales, or do whatever based on the permission groups that they have in here. They can do everything on every single store. If you don't have any store set up for this staff, that means that the user is able to perform everything that he's able to do based on their permissions on every single store, on all stores. But like, for example, for this one, for the 102, let me just open this, 1002, this staff is linked to this store. So this is a cashier, and it's under this permission group that says waiters. But this cashier, it's only able to perform a sale or perform transactions or everything that it's on the permission groups, on the permission group for this store only. If we want to link this staff to another store, we have these store link lines. So in here on the store link lines, we can set up additional stores. So like, for example, if we want this user to be able to perform any of the activities they have on their permission groups, to be able to perform something on a different store, we can add that store in here. So if I do this, I can say that this user with this permission group is going to be able to log in or to perform any of the permission groups or any of the activities configured on the permission group for this store, which is the main store, and this other store, store 1, right? So if I want to override permissions, like for example, if I want to have different permission groups for this user in a different store, just do this. Here, I think that I can just override the permissions with it. No, I don't have that ability, but I think that it was possible to use this. Specify a different permission groups for that same staff on a different store. But what I am able to do as the manager, or I am just like configuring this new staff, I can just assign new interface profiles or new menus. So in that way, for this store, if this staff is opening the POS, if it's opening the POS on this store, they can use different profiles to perform their activity. So they can just have a different menu, a different style, a different color menus, different layouts and everything. So in here, I have the possibility to have different profiles for the user to present the POS in a different way. So if I have this, I can just make this user able to log in these 3 different stores. So the user can perform any of the permission or any of the activities that are defined on the permission groups. The permission groups basically state what the user is going to be able to do. If I go to this permission groups, I have all these settings. Let's see the cashier. Let me show you this cashier. So for the cashier, I have all these settings. So the cashier, all the staff that is going to be part of this permission group, which is cashier, will be able to add payments, will be able to override price. No, we have different settings. So if he can change the price lower, or if he can change higher price, or higher and lower, or if he has not the ability to override the price of an item. So if can open the transaction without a sale. So if he wants to void transaction, if he has permissions to void transaction. So these are like the permissions that the user has. In the example, it was telling us that we should have a permission group cashier, and the cashier should be able to give up to 5%, and it should be able to open the drawer without a sale. And in here, you have like all these settings that controls everything regarding the POS processes. So these cashiers, or all the users or the staff members that have this permission group, they won't be able to print X, C, and Y reports. These are like the cash reports. So they are not going to be able to print those, or to know what is in the cash drawer, or how much money do they have on the cash drawer. So these are like the permissions on the staff. But what happens is that if you go to the staff card, and for a single, you want to do an exception for a single cashier. So if you check like this, Hansen, this is the cashier, and this has like this different permission group that has waiters. You can override the permission group to apply an exception for this user. So like, for example, if this, on this permission group that says waiters, right now, it is inheriting the permissions from that group to this user. But in here, I can manage some exceptions. So like, for example, if on the group, on the permission group waiters, they are not able to open the drawer, but I want for this single user to be able to open the drawer without a sale, I can just override that permission on this user only, or on this staff. So I can manage these kind of exceptions at the staff level. So I am applying this change, not for the whole group, or for not for all the staff that belong to this permission group waiters, but for this user only. Okay? And in the case of the manager, it is easier, because the manager for the 101, this is one of the managers. So if you check in here on the manager, you have this permission group that says manager, and in the permissions groups, you can check what are for this user specifically. Why do you think that I don't have any of these? Just some, like for example, this come from permission group. This is because all the other ones, because I am a manager, I have all permissions. I have permissions to do whatever I want. So that's why I cannot, like, for example, give a forbidden permission. Like, for example, if in the permission groups it says that I am able to add payments, I cannot override that permission to say no, because this is like the most, it is not restrictive, you know? These exceptions are not restrictive, actually are to give permissions, or to give extra or exceptions, just extra permissions or exceptions to these rules. So I'm not going to use them for to avoid the user to do something, or to prevent the user to perform something. Actually, it's to allow the user to do something, not to prevent. That's why they are blocked, or they are disabled. Actually, I cannot do anything in here because, well, I don't know if you can see it, but it is gray. The area is gray, so that's why I know that I cannot do changes, but I can do changes on discounts. So this is one of the permissions that, yes, I can override. So I can say that for this specific user, instead of following the rule that it's specified on the permission groups, I'm going to, for this single user, apply a different setup, only for this user. Okay, so this is like just manage exceptions for these permission groups, and that's it. It is not like nothing like that. So the easiest way to see these kind of differences or these setups is if you run the LS Navstar. I think I have it running already. I have it. Yes. In here, as you might see, we have like this retail POS Metro, retail POS clienteling, self-service coffee POS, self-service POS. Actually, all these buttons are set up to run with the same user, but on the menus, on the buttons, it is set up to open specific POS terminals. So if you check in here on the button configuration for this Metro, it is set up to run this client, to open this company, use this URL, and open this page. So this is the startup object. And in this case, I'm going to use POS terminal 44, no matter what terminal I have for my retail users. So if I go to the retail users here in the database, I think that I have it open, but if I go to retail users, and from here, I am super. I can check in here on this ribbon in here at the bottom. I can see that I am on this company, date, and this is like my user. So if I just go check in here, if I run the POS from this session or from this, just from this session that I have already opened, the system is going to open this POS terminal. But if I am running the POS using the LS Start program, I am going to run what terminal I have set up in here on this button. So right now I'm going to open the terminal 44 if I just click on that button on this. If I run this retail POS Metro, I am going to run the POS terminal 1, if I remember correctly. So this is going to open a new connection to the database, and it's going to open the page that I have set up on that button. It's going to run the 32-bit client, the LSNAV 32-bit client. So as you might see, it's going to open a different program or another program in here. It's not going to open a new window or a new page on the current one that I have already opened. So it is opening a different session or another session. And in here, it's going to display the startup window. So I have it in here. This is the Metro. This is the profiles that integrate the POS. So if I hit log on, and if I hit 101, which is the cashier, or the 101, which is manager, cashier, etc. This is the layout for the POS for this user. As you might see, this is a tablet. Well, this is this design or this layout was created for tablet clients. So if you open the client using a tablet, this is like the easiest way to control the POS. But if I just log off and then use a different user, like this one, 10 hyper, see what happens. So this hyper has a different layout and everything is controlled. I am opening, as you might see here, what I was telling you, I am opening the same terminal, P0044. This is the receipt number. So this is the POS terminal. You can see it in here on the status window or in the status line here. So I can see that I am on the terminal 44, but the layout is different. The buttons look different and the colors are slightly different. If I open with this 11 staff ID, I am opening the same terminal, the same receipt number, but the layout and the colors are slightly different. If I go back and I just open with a different staff, let's say LS Retail, see what happens. This is a completely different layout, right? So these are different menus, different profiles, and they are linked not to the terminal, they are linked to the user. So for this user, the POS is opening different profiles and it is displaying the POS in a different way. So it's a different look for the POS. So this all is controlled on the setup, on the staff setup. So the permission groups, let me just go back to the left-handed, this one. This is a layout that was created for left-handed users. So the buttons are on the left, and the journal is on the right. So these are different layouts. As I said, these are different profiles that are controlled on the staffs. The difference on the permissions are for buttons. Like, for example, if I open this POS with 102, 102 is a cashier and has no permissions. So this 102, there are some buttons that have manager permissions. So like, for example, if I go to operations, if I check in here, oh, let me just move this. I don't know if you check, if you can see this little square in here. I don't know why it's there, but this refund, the cashier is not able to do a refund. So that's why this button is disabled. So if I just go here to manager and I log in as 101, which has permissions, this button, if I go back to operations, this button now is enabled. So I am logged in the POS as 102, and as this staff, I am not able to perform any refund, but I can just log in as a manager on the same transaction, so I can authorize this cashier to do this process just one single time. Once that process is done, I can just go here to manager again, to the manager login, and this is going to disable that button again, because I am like logging on and logging off as manager. So these are the kind of permissions that we control with the permission groups, on the staff permission groups. Actually, that's the main thing. And the other one are the looks. So the POS look different if I am logging as a different user, because on those users, that's what I wanted to show you. On those users, we have set up to run the POS with different profiles. So if you go to here to staff, one of the users that I was working with, was playing with, was this one. Then the hyper user, and there is another one which is the left-handed user that has different menus. So as you can see here, these are like the profiles that I am using, and that's why the POS is displayed in a different way. Okay, this one is the hyper left. So if you can see here, there are different menus. Basically, the interface profile, which is the one that controls the layout of the POS, and is what controls the left-handed user, right? So what else? Let me just go back to this one. So this example is basically what I was telling you, right? Here we have like this staff setup. Sorry, do you have a question or something?
No, we're fine.
Okay. Well, then we have like these records on the staff members. So we have like the ID, the address, the phone number, all this information regarding the staff. As I said, this store number, if it's blank, it's going to allow the user to log into any store. And this permission group is the one that is going to control what the user is capable to do. And you can manage the exceptions user by user. So that's it basically regarding staff. So as you see in here, basically it is what it says in here on these slides. In handling POS functionality, assign each member a type of authorization for various actions. So you have like these exceptions that you can overwrite of what you have on the permission group. And you can group staff members to permission groups. This is like basically this on the staff card. You can say this staff belongs to these permission groups, like manager, cashier, and you can define your permission groups based on what are the customer needs. So basically this is the manager privileges. This check in here, or this field in here that says manager privileges, it's only there, or it is recommended to enable it only for that manager role. That is the one that is going to have permissions to do whatever he wants. So this exercise basically was that, to create permission groups and specify this setup, you know, or add these rules for that permission group. like give 20% discount, add discounts, print reports, and open the drawer without a sale, and all these function or commands that you can perform at the POS. And basically it's to set up those. So I'm not going to stop on that. I'm going to continue with the other ones. And then we have this other requirement, or this example, that is basically how the system is going to print and what is going to be printed on the receipt. So in here we have the option, in LS Retail, we have the option to configure what is going to be printed on the receipt per store, or even POS per POS terminal. So you can have, like, for example, in the store, you can set up the receipt to be printed with some information at the top and at the bottom. So you can add lines or text, whatever you want to include on the receipt printed. So right now, I think that the virtual printer was not open when I opened this POS Metro. I don't remember, but let's open, which one? This electronic one. I don't remember if they have like the printer, the virtual printer, but I'm going to show you what this is about and how it can be configured to be printed from store or from POS terminal. So this is opening a new session with this user. It's opening a POS terminal with different ID. I don't remember which one it is, but give me one second.
I think the if you go back to the other screen.
The LS start?
Yeah. You see KDS display, so that's KDS display fryer, KDS display cold. Oh no, those are just the, oh, it's not the, okay, you're right, sorry.
No, I am trying to open the virtual printer.
The receipt printer.
Yeah, not the KDS.
That's funny, when we opened it, when we open ours, the two receipt printers come up. This comes up automatically.
Oh, when you start the virtual machine, the printer that it's open is the...
Yeah, the receipt station is the station come up automatically.
Yeah. Actually, the other one, the one that it's started right away when you start the virtual machine, it is the hardware station printer. So you can have like the virtual machine with the hardware station that is used when you use the mobile POS. So if you open the web POS in a browser, that is the printer that is used. So you have to run it. It is not run the same as the POS. When you run the web client, even when you have like the virtual printer set up for that POS terminal, that is not browsing this printer. So this printer is browsed, well, it is loaded when you have this hardware profile set up with virtual printer. But on the other one, when you run the web client, you have to run the virtual printer manually. That's why it is loaded right away.
Okay. All right.
So right now in here, well, this is the virtual printer. I'm going to open with this user. I'm going to sell an item. Nothing fancy, just a bicycle. This is one, I think. So, well, let me just. Now I'm going to keep it in this size just to see what we have in the display. So I'm going to pay with cash. Hit OK, and in here it's going to print the receipt with all details, right? So this receipt, what it's on the header and what it's at the bottom, that is printed once it's done. This Kronos Electronics Store South, this is configurable, and this is easy to do actually. And the store that I am right now is, I don't know what this store, but I know the terminal is 22. I don't remember the stores actually, but what I can do is to go to the PS terminals, clear my filter in here to display all PS terminals, and I can look for this terminal like 22. This one, electronics, is the store number 7. If you check on this store, let me just hit edit. This is the POS terminal card. The POS terminal that I am right now is POS terminal 22. in here it says receipt setup location. This is the one that controls if what I am going to print on the receipts is controlled by the terminal or by the store. So in here I can say store or terminal. If I have terminal, if I go to the store card and try to add some text to be printed on the receipt, let me just scroll, drill down on this, store 7. So this is a store 7. If I go to store 7 and hit edit, just to open the store card, I am on the store card right now. So store card 7, if I go here to navigate receipt printing, this is opening this information. If I just add everything, whatever I add in here, I hit OK. This is if the POS terminal has store, the information that is going to be printed is going to be the one that I have on here. But if I go to the POS terminal and I go back to the POS terminal 22 and I go to this receipt printing in here on the POS terminal, I can see that in here I have this Cronus electronics something. Let me just show you this, right? And it's aligned to the left. So in here I can set up for this terminal, I can add more text and then align this to center. And then I can say that it's going to be wide and high and bold. That means that I'm going to print huge letters and bold letters in here on my receipt. So if I just, I am controlling the printing of the receipt by terminal. So right now, what is going to be printed when I finish a sale is going to be the electronics store, etc., and then Roberto, and it's going to be printed with bold letters and huge letters or bigger letters. So let me just show you. It's posting and then printing. You see? So I can control what is going to be printed on the header. If I want to switch this to be store, what is going to be printed is what I have on the store. Oh, sorry, I just hit some wrong buttons and just messed something. Okay, so right now it says store. For this POS terminal, what I am going to print is what I have on the store card, or what I have defined or configured for receipt printing on the store. So right now, if I sell an item, the same item, I am selling this bicycle, and total, and then hit cash again. Everything with cash. So once I have this, just see, you will see what is printed. So it says example, and this is retrieved from the store card. So this is what I have configured on the store card. So as you might see, this is what controls what is going to be printed. So you can have like the default setup for the store, and if for some reason on one single terminal you need to print something else, at the POS terminal level, you will have to modify the receipt setup location to terminal. And in that way, you're going to use what you have on the terminal instead of what you have on the store. And that's it. Basically, this is the example that says that is treated on these slides or described on these slides. And this offline POS with replication, this is what is going to handle, it's going to control if the POS is going to be offline or it's going to be online. Basically, when the terminal is online, that means that you're going to open a connection, a direct connection to the head office server. And when it is offline, that means that you have like maybe a store database or a POS database. And that is very important in the sense that when you are using web services, this field makes a huge difference, because if you are telling the system that you are online on this terminal and you are connected directly to the head office database, that means that no web services have to run to the head office to check for something. But if you are offline on this terminal, that means that everything that needs to be executed by web services needs to look to a different database for inventory lookup, for validation or balance of a gift card, or to apply a voucher, or whatever is requested when you use web services. Basically, that this is important, and that's why it's in here. So if it says that it's a standalone POS terminal, that's why you have to set up that it's an offline POS.
Just going back to the receipt.
Mm-hmm.
If you wanted to print a copy of a receipt and you needed copy on it, is that a different type of receipt? Do you have to do it with an info button or info code to print that? And how do you then get a separate receipt that says copy on it?
There is no standard feature for copies. Like, for example, if you want to print one copy once you finish a transaction. So what we have done for this is we have POS actions. So in some projects, what we can do is create or add a new POS action that basically it's going to be executed once you finish a transaction. So it's going to print a copy of the receipt. So in the functionality profile, we have something which is called POS action. And that means that whenever something happens at the POS, a command should be executed, like print last receipt or something like that. And in that way, it prints a copy of the receipt. There is a field in the tables. I think that field controls if the next time you print a receipt, it is going to print the word copy on it. So let me just try to print copy of this. I don't remember, it was this one. I don't remember, but I think that we can create a POS action to perform that exact same procedure that I just did. So let me just, yes, return copy. So there is a counter on the table. So what you can do is, like, for example, add a POS action, and that POS action to print a copy of the last receipt. So in that way, when you finish the transaction, it's going to print the receipt and a copy of it. But that is not a standard. You know, there is no standard setup to print copies.
Okay.
As far as I remember, I don't know if you're aware of something, Jackie, that I don't remember actually.
No, I always did it with just print copy, but I've never set up a POS that had to always print a copy and say copy. I know that I can get 2 copies of one receipt, and I'm guessing I can point it to another report that has a watermark that says copy on it.
Maybe that's another way.
Yeah.
But in the standard way, I think there is no like command to
I don't think it is.
automatically. No.
Not in POS commands. I don't believe. I couldn't remember if it was. We can go look, I guess.
Yes, I can check for you and maybe prepare something for tomorrow and show you what I have, and we can just review it if that's what you want or what you need.
Okay, no problem.
It depends on the customer. Sometimes they say, no, you know what? We have this option on the POS terminal that prompts the user to print a copy, send an email, or none, or do nothing. So if I remember,
sometimes you have a promotion in a store, which you then need to attach a copy of the receipt onto application or an entry.
Yes, I can check that for you. I can check that for you if that's possible to do automatically. I don't remember, but I know that we have this printing tab in here.
It's an advanced printing someplace, because I used to do it all the time if I wanted to do like vouchers, and let's say somebody was like, we used to buy and sell also. So if somebody was going to give me something and I had to give you a receipt, plus also another receipt that had our disclaimer on it. It used to print out several copies because I would keep one for a drawer copy and I would hand one to a customer. I just don't remember where it is. We'll look for it.
No problem.
We can check that. And in here, as I said, you know, we have these options on the POS terminal that you can say print an email, non-email, print and confirmation. That right now it's print, but if I change this or I switch this to be print an email or email only, the system is going to prompt the user to specify the email to send the receipt instead of print that receipt. Or print on confirmation is going to prompt the user if he wants to print or not print the receipt. So, but there are some other setups. You know, there is something, but as far as I remember, there is nothing in the standard LS Retail database to configure to print 2 copies or something like that. I don't remember actually. But well, let's move forward. And these basically are the texts that can be printed and how you control them. So here, as you see, this is the receipt printing, and they are talking about this receipt setup location, which is terminal. On the slide is the mandatory field is the store number. Basically, this is basically what we are going to configure. And as you see here, you have to, on this example or exercise, it is requested to add something at the top, at the bottom of the text store. And another function that we have on the store or in here on the receipt is to copy that receipt printing information. So I think that it's not in here, it's on the store level. And on the store level, you have like this copy receipt information. I don't remember if it's that the name. Copy receipts, this one, to current store or from current store. So you can copy the receipt information. So then you can just do any mod you want, like for example, the address or something, if it's needed. So this is like basically an easy way. If you have like 20 lines at the top and another 20 at the bottom, you have the option to copy them. So this is not other like that. And that's pretty much it. Actually, my plan was to move forward with the next PowerPoint, but I think that we can take advantage of this, and then before starting the item setup, and then just start with that tomorrow. I will like to check if you have any issues or something or questions for these 10 minutes left that we have. So I don't know. Do you want to ask something, or do you have any questions or so far?
Well, no, the only thing I'm going to say is that, like I said, I'm familiar with these slides. So I'm going to download from the LSNav site the appropriate files to do the installation relating to installing LSNav into a current database, because I was having some trouble with some errors. And then, sorry, some construction nearby, so you know, there's a lot of noise in the background, so I apologize. There are some errors which I haven't been able to figure out at all. There are a couple of errors when I use the Rapid Start tool, where it is asking for, I don't know if it's some objects or some tables which seem not to exist. Mm-hmm. And apparently, because I'm importing into an already created database, I'm getting some messages that some tables and fields and stuff have to be modified. And I think something is happening there. So I'll trigger it tonight and take some screenshots and hand them to you. Maybe you could look at it.
Hi, Steve. If you have a W1 backup, and you could just import the W1 backup, it has everything for Rapid Start already in it. So you don't have to do a Rapid Start into it.
All right. I'm not sure if I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, definitely. I will do that.
Restore your database.
Yeah.
And see if that helps you. Oh, and Roberto,
yep.
I was looking at my old bill to see how I was doing my receipts, and I was actually assigning an extra print setup to a tender type.
Okay.
That's how I did it.
Okay, well, I can do that, or I can just set up something. As I said,
Yeah.
you know, we can just do something.
So I was just using that extra print setup.
Nice. Okay.
That's all I had.
Okay, thanks. Well, guys, I don't know, related to these issues that you were facing, if you have a list or if you can prepare a list or something,
Well,
then we can just check them.
hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, well, one of the things that I liked is that it kind of opened the PowerPoint slides that I have here.
Mm-hmm.
It puts it in a better perspective for me.
Okay, good.
So that's how this was able to help me. I can go through the PowerPoint slides now wondering if I'm doing the right thing, knowing now that I'm kind of doing the right thing, because before I was wondering, okay, where's this going?
Yeah.
So it helps.
Excellent. Well, I don't know if you don't have any other questions or something, I will just say that that's it for today. I don't know.
All right. Yeah, that could be it for today. We'll
Excellent.
pick up for tomorrow.
Let's do that. Thank
All
you,
right.
guys. And
Thank you, Roberto. Thanks, Jackie.
Thank you, everyone. It's been great again.
Okay, Jack.
Yeah.
All right. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Take care. Bye.